This video is about how to plan a trip to Rome. I'm going to share with you 5 things you need to do before heading to Rome, and then I'm going to share with you 5 things you need to know once you're in Rome, and at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you 5 tips to help you make the most of your time in Rome. I've got lots to share with you. Let's get started. To help plan your visit, there are 5 things you should do before heading to Rome. If I were able to pick any month to visit Rome, when would I visit? When would I avoid? Now, assuming I can do that anytime, the months I'd probably avoid are June, July, and August. June and July, well, especially the second half of June and July, can be crowded but also very hot. And being crowded and hot at the same time is kind of unbearable. That's in my opinion. August is not as crowded, but there are some things that are closed in August. A lot of the Italians, they'll go on holiday for at least part of the month of August. So some stores, some of the restaurants, even some maybe smaller attractions may be closed in August. And so that's why I'd probably avoid August. Now, outside of that, you've got September, October, and on the other side, you have April and May. All 4 of those months are fairly busy, but at least it's usually not very hot. So even though you're dealing with crowds, you're not dealing with heat and crowds. And those months I just mentioned have ideal temperatures, making it very pleasant to be in Rome, even though you have to deal with crowds. Now, if you want to avoid the crowds, the months to go are, my favorite months are November. November in Rome is spectacular. Usually you have great weather. And especially as you progress towards the end of November, the crowds slowly dissipate, and it's a fantastic month to be in Rome. Then you have December. December is honestly my favorite month to be in Rome. Those first 2-3 weeks of December are just usually fantastic. You get to see Christmas, the trees, and all the decorations start to come out for Christmas, but yet the crowds really aren't that big. You have a lot of tourists. The tourists you have in December are typically European tourists. And the Italians just generally are more warm, kind, and friendly in December because they're not so stressed out with all of the crowds that are usually there, the rest of the year. Then we move into January and February. Those are also fantastic months. It can be a little bit chilly, but by no means is that a deal breaker for me. It doesn't usually get below freezing, which is great. And it does rain sometimes, but usually rain events are 1 or 2 hours, here and there throughout the day, if it rains at all. Most days you'll find are not raining, so it doesn't really play a huge, impact on your vacation. So those are the months, December, January, February. And again, March is also, I didn't bring that one up, but March is also a fantastic, it's a balance between crowds and good weather. March usually has really nice weather. Crowds have increased, but yet not crazy. So March can be a great month in Rome for sure. So if you're looking for good weather, I'd probably pick October, November, March, or April. If you're looking for a place with few crowds, I would probably pick December, January, and February. And out of those, I'd probably pick December or February. There you go. Let's talk about location. Where to stay in Rome. Rome is a big city. There's, 3-4 million people live in Rome. But as a tourist, especially if you're going for your first time, you want to be fairly close to the sites, making it super convenient. Now sometimes, especially if you're visiting in high season, it can be fairly expensive to stay in the center. That also is another reason why being there in the off season can make a lot of sense. But I think it's important to invest in an area that's central. And the most central area is the historical area of Rome. Now the historical area itself is fairly large, so let's narrow that down a little bit. Near Largo, Argentina, that's kind of the hub of Rome, a hub of all of the historical area. And from there, it's easy to get to the Spanish Steps, to get to the Pantheon, to Piazza Navona, to Campo dei Fiori, to, everywhere else that you want to visit, Trastevere, Capitol Museum, Capitol Hill there, the Campidoglio. There's so much that is so central to Largo, Argentina. It just makes a lot of sense. Now, when I say stay in the area of Largo, Argentina, I'm talking about the general area around there. If you're within 200 meters of there, you're going to be in really good shape. So that just makes it super convenient, a super great place to base from. And if you're outside in a far area in a neighborhood that's far from the center, that means every time you want to come home in the middle of the day, it's just not real convenient. So if you do go home, you're going to not feel like going back out in the evening because you're going to be like, oh, it's too much a hassle to head back out. And so you're going to miss that opportunity to really explore the city of Rome. So it's important to pick a central location. Keep in mind, Largo Argentina, in my opinion, is the most central. It's the hub of transportation. Now, the downside of this area, it does not have easy access to the metro. You're going to be reliant on your feet, a taxi, or the local bus. You can get to the metro, but it's about a 20-minute walk to the nearest metro from Largo, Argentina. Not too long ago, I did a video about where to stay in Rome, the neighborhoods from my least favorite to my most favorite. I'm going to put a link to that video in the description of this video. If you'd like, you can take a look at that. It would be very helpful to you if you haven't decided where to stay. And again, the link will be in the description of this video. Now let's talk about how many days should you spend in Rome. In my opinion, you need to be in Rome at least 4 days. Now that's not including the day you arrive or the day you leave. 4 full days will allow you to do a lot of things in Rome, see most of its sights. You're not going to see everything, but you're going to be able to see a lot. What I really recommend is maybe making it a 7-day experience. So that way you have 3 days where you can take day trips. More about day trips coming up in just a minute. Now I'm going to talk about a few things that you're going to want to bring with you from home before heading to Rome. You can certainly pick these up when you're in Rome, but you can't really control the quality of what you're getting when you're in Rome. It's much easier to do this when you're in the States. Plus, you won't have to spend time hunting these items down because these items will come in handy for you and you're going to need them. The first is a power bank. This is a battery backup. Your phone is going to be used more than you think when you're in Rome. You're going to be taking pictures and videos. You're going to be using it for GPS, and chances are your phone will die before the day ends. That's where these come in handy. I picked these up on Amazon. I got 2 different ones here. I like this one a little bit better. It's a little smaller, but it's still very powerful. It charges my phone like 3 times over, as well as this one. This is just a little heavier, so I like this one better, but I'll put a link in the description of this video where I got this at. You can pick that up if you want. But this one does come in handy. It's got a C port, the USB port, and then it's got a C port here as well, built in. You click on the screen and it tells you how much battery charge life you have left. This one's got 100%. These come in very handy. The next thing you're going to need is a plug converter. Many of your electronics will not be able to be plugged into the Italian sockets. You need one of these, where you can plug your electronics in here, or the USBs or the C ports. You plug that into the Italian socket, and then you have the ability to plug all your electronics in. What you don't need is a power converter. Only if you're going to bring things like, this is my daughter's, I don't know what this is, some kind of, anyway, you get the idea. It's a hairdryer / comb, or these straighteners. These will need power converters. If you bring hair dryers or things like that with you to Italy, when you plug them in, they will burn out in a matter of 2 or 3 minutes. The voltage going through the Italian circuits is just too high for these type of things. So if you're going to want to bring your stuff, then you will also need a power converter, not just a plug converter. You'll need a power converter. I recommend not doing that. They're just heavy. You don't have to bring them. Most hotels, most Airbnbs will have at least the essentials, a hairdryer for you, so you won't need to worry about that. But just be aware that you're going to need that. Now let's talk briefly about getting tickets, pre-booking to the major sites in Rome. Which ones do you need to pre-book? Which ones you don't need to pre-book? There's really only a couple that you're going to need to pre-book before heading to Rome. One is the Vatican Museum. If you're planning to visit the Vatican Museum, you'll definitely want to pre-book that ahead on the official site. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video, and you can book them there. The next is the Colosseum. The Colosseum tickets include a ticket to the Roman Forum, but you will want to get that in advance. Now, you can usually get those 1 or 2 days out, but they start selling those 30 days out. So if there's a specific time that you want, you'll want to get that 30 days out. I recommend visiting the Colosseum first thing in the morning when it first opens. I believe it opens up at 9:30 in the morning. So getting a 9:30 a.m. ticket would be ideal. That way you can go into the Colosseum, and afterwards you can then head into the Roman Forum, just relaxing and checking that out without having the constraints of worrying about coming back for the Colosseum, making it ideal that way. Another site, if you're planning to visit, you will need to get in advance. That is for the Villa Borghese Gallery. The museum there does sell out, so you will need tickets for that in advance. And I'll also leave a link to their official site for the Villa Borghese in the description of this video where you can book your tickets. All of the other sites, in my opinion, whether it's the Pantheon, museums, sites, those can be purchased as needed, meaning the lines are not going to be that long. You can get those on the spot. So that's what I would do. The only three, again, that I'd book in advance are the Vatican Museum, the Colosseum, which includes the Forum, and the Villa Borghese Gallery. You've arrived in Rome. Now there are 5 things that will really help you make the most of your time in Rome. When you arrive in Rome at the Fiumicino airport, after gathering your bags, you're going to want to get to your hotel or Airbnb, and there are really 3 options. You can take a bus. Now, if you want to take a bus, just look for the information booth, ask where the buses are at. There are several bus lines that will take you to the Termini train station. The buses cost less than 10 euros per person to get from the Fiumicino airport to the Termini train station. But be advised that once you get to the Termini train station, you're then going to need to figure out how to get to your hotel or Airbnb. If you're close by, you may be able to walk. Otherwise, you're going to need to get another taxi from there to your hotel or Airbnb. And on average, it costs around 15 euros. So you can kind of figure out what that's going to cost you. The other option is to take the public transportation, the metro or a bus. I don't really recommend you do that, especially if you're not familiar with Rome and not with all your bags. So get another taxi from there would be my opinion. The second option is to take the Leonardo Express. It's an express train that runs from the Fiumicino airport directly to the Termini train station. It takes around 30 minutes. But again, once you arrive at Termini station, then you're going to then have to figure out how to get to your Airbnb or hotel. But the train ride is very comfortable, it's fast, it's convenient, and it's very easy to find from the airport. Just look for the Leonardo Express sign, follow it, hop on the train, no problem there. The most convenient way, however, is to just get a taxi. When you get in the airport, after you get your bags, you'll see the signs. It'll say taxi. Very easy. You just follow the taxi signs towards the taxis, and you'll hop in a taxi. The taxi ride is a flat fare. It's 55 euros. You also have to pay 1 euro per bag. They don't always charge that, but they have the right to charge you another euro per suitcase. But it's still pretty inexpensive, considering it can be for multiple people, not just per person, and it will take you directly to your hotel or Airbnb, so there's no need to switch or figure out how to get to your hotel from the Termini train station, making it super convenient, especially after a long flight. Starting off on the right foot is important. Get a taxi from the Fiumicino airport is my opinion, so take it for what it's worth. When you get to Rome, you're going to want to get around, and there are really 3 ways to get around. One is to walk. Walking is free, but there's also taxis. If you choose, you can get a taxi. The average taxi in Rome costs around 12 to 15 euros. And there's also the public transportation system. That costs 1.5 euros. It includes the metro, buses, and trams. For buses and trams, the 1.5 euro is good for 100 minutes. Doesn't matter how many buses you hop on and hop off of, it's good for 100 minutes. If you're going into the metro, it's good for 1 ride, meaning you go down below, you can stay down there, switch lines, whatever. But once you come up, if you want to go back down, even if it's been less than 100 minutes, you need to buy another ticket. Rome recently has made it very convenient to get onto public transportation with a thing called Tap and Go. I'm going to put a video about that in the description of this video, but basically you can use your credit card on board the trams, the buses, and the metro, so you don't have to search for tickets when you get to Rome. Just simply tap and use your credit card. To help you with your daily itinerary in Rome, I have created a video with 3 walking tours. These are GPS guided walking tours. They'll take you past all of Rome's greatest sites, along with a lot of other interesting sites, great food. They're a really great way to jumpstart your day, to take them in the middle of the afternoon, even end your day. Each of these itineraries take around 3 hours, so it'll still leave you a lot of time to explore those things that you found most interesting, a lot of time to take pictures, eat, just enjoy Rome. I think you'll find these very helpful. I'm going to leave a link to the video in the description of this video, so be sure to check it out. On your visit to Rome, chances are you're going to want to visit St. Peter's Basilica. You may even want to climb to the top of its dome. But if you don't get there when it first opens, the lines can be very long. The Basilica opens up at 7 in the morning, and usually if you get there by then, the lines are very minimal. But as of 2025, there is a new way to get into the Basilica and on top of the dome without standing in a long line, and that is to purchase the audio guide. The audio guide can be purchased online. It costs €7. It must be purchased a minimum of 24 hours in advance, but it'll allow you to go through the express entry into the Vatican City, bypassing the long security checkpoint, saving you hours. Honestly, it can save you a lot of time. So if you're not going to be able to get there first thing in the morning, simply purchase the audio guide, and you can also purchase the dome ticket. So either way, both of those include the audio guide, allowing you express entry into Vatican City. I'm going to put a link to the tickets in the description of this video, but remember, those have to be purchased a minimum of 24 hours in advance, subject to availability. If you're going to be in Rome for more than 3 or 4 days, then I highly recommend you take a day trip, especially if you're using Rome as a home base. There are several great day trips from Rome, including Naples. You can get to Naples in about 1 hour on high-speed rail and go experience the best pizza in the world, along with great food, great things to see and do in Naples. It's just a fantastic day trip. Also, you can take a day trip to Florence. Believe it or not, Florence is just about 1.5 hours on high-speed rail. It used to be 3 or 4. Now it's a feasible day trip from Rome. Yes, Florence probably is worthy more than just a day trip, but if it's not in the cards in this trip, taking a day trip from Rome to Florence can make a lot of sense. Just outside of Rome, there's a small town called Tivoli. Tivoli is a very charming town, about 45 minutes on the train. Tivoli has some great sights as well. There's Villa Gregoriana. It's kind of a nature hike down a gorge. There's waterfalls. There's Hadrian's Villa. It's where Hadrian used to live. It's more like a compound, a lot of old buildings, ruins, super interesting. And then if you like gardens and fountains, there's Villa d'Este with over 500 fountains, fantastic gardens. Don't miss it. You'll love it. Tivoli is definitely worth a visit from Rome. In addition to those 3 cities, there's one more I want to mention called Spoleto. Spoleto is very charming. It's located in the Umbria region of Rome, not too far from Assisi, close to Perugia, but Spoleto has its own personality. It's a really charming town to go visit. It's not on the radar of many people, but I think you'll be in for a pleasant surprise. We love Spoleto and cannot recommend it enough. After spending a lot of time in Rome, I have lots of tips, and now I want to share with you what I think are the most 5 helpful tips to help you on your visit to Rome. Making the most of the time you have in Rome is really important, and what I mean by that is you don't want to spend a lot of your time in lines and waiting for people, whether it be restaurants or sites, and the best way to do that is to get an early start when you're in Rome. I get up and out the door at about sunrise. There's lots to see in Rome before things even really open up. You can go visit the Spanish Steps, the Pantheon, Piazza Navona. Several other sites are kind of an outdoor experience, and walking around the streets of Rome early in the morning is really quite pleasant. Even in peak season, the crowds don't get crazy until around 11 a.m. or so, and then they tend to get pretty busy until the evening. So by getting out early in the morning, you can avoid a lot of the hustle and bustle, enjoy the day, and maybe you go back and take a little nap during the afternoon, go back and have lunch, just relax while it's really crowded and not fight the crowds. That's what I would do, and that's my advice to you. With your ticket to the Colosseum, you're also going to get one-time entry into the Roman Forum. It's the best value of all the sites in Rome. You get the Colosseum and the Roman Forum for 18 euros. There's not a better deal out there. It's quite incredible considering all you get. When you're in the Roman Forum, here's what I would say. Be sure to make it over to the Trajan's Forum, and on the opposite side, there's an exit or an entry point from there. From there, you can walk over to Trajan's Market. Now, it's a separate entrance to go see Trajan's Market, but it is awesome. Your visit to the Roman Forum, in my opinion, would not be complete without a visit to Trajan's Market. Be sure to make that a priority, whether you start off visiting Trajan's Market, then entering into the Forum, or ending at Trajan's Market. It's a must-see in my opinion. Don't miss it. Here's a tip that most people think they don't need, but it is get in shape before heading to Rome. When you're in Rome, you're going to be walking 15,000 to 20,000 steps day after day, which is more than most people realize and more than most people are used to. People's feet get sore. They don't realize that walking is actually a workout. So before heading to Rome, go walk 15 to 20,000 steps 4, 5, 6 days in a row. Make sure your feet are comfortable, and trust me, that way you'll be acclimated to walking that much, and that way walking around Rome will not be that difficult for you, ensuring that you don't get tired, you're able to make the most of each day, because having sore feet and being tired of walking is no good in Rome. If you're going to be visiting Rome for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, try to visit during the week. Avoid the weekends. The weekends in Rome, especially in peak season, can be quite crowded, quite chaotic, and in my opinion, it's better to avoid them if possible. If you're going to be in Rome for multiple days, obviously if you're going to be there for a week or more, you're going to be there on a weekend, and that weekend makes a great time for a day trip. In this video, I hope I was able to share a lot of information to help you plan a great trip to Rome. We do have a Rome travel guide. The Rome travel guide will give you a lot more information, a lot more in-depth information to help you make the most of Rome. That's what it's all about. You're going to be spending thousands of dollars to visit Rome, and we just want to help make sure that you have the most incredible experience possible. I'm going to put a link to our guide in the description of this video, along with a discount code, where you can pick it all up for right around $20. We want to thank all of those that have subscribed to our channel and those that have just watched our videos. We really appreciate you. To the next one. Alla prossima. Ciao.